Hello everybody. This week I decided I would have a look at the boards and just quickly have a look at how you opened, overcalled and how you responded. And it ought to be simple. But after the first board and moving on to the second, I began to think it's curiouser and curiouser. So let's have a look at the first board I looked at, and we got a lot of different contracts and different declarers. Now you expect some variation, but this is a pretty broad variation. In particular, you've got a 2-spade contract going off 3 by west, when in fact underneath we've got a 3-spade contract making by north, so it's clearly something has gone wrong with the east-west bidding here. Then lower down we've got this easy 2-diamond contract made by east, and there we have east being given an easy score and north-south being given an easy score, one through over-competing, the other through not competing. So how can it go quite so wrong? Well, as we said, the spade contract by west is a very ill-advised overcall. Sometimes you have to recognise it's the opposition's contract. If everybody lets it go, it's 50-50. So be careful with your competing. Then the 2 hearts by north is the best contract. By south, slightly less so, but that's the contract to be in. The spades by north is probably a result of a fear of opening 1 no trump, or a misuse of never deny 4-card major. And then the 3 hearts by north was the result of not evaluating a hand and rating it too highly. So let's have a look at what happened. North is to open. They pick up this hand, and the first thing that I ask you to do is evaluate it. Not the complicated way of adding points, deducting half points, adding half points back, but just look at it and think to yourself, is this a good hand or a bad hand? And you should evaluate it, and I think you'll conclude this is quite a good hand. No matter what, even if it was 3 aces, you should open a 12-point hand. So there we go, 1 no trump. East then has a very solid overcall, but before you leap in and bid 2 diamonds, you should evaluate whether you should defend with this hand or attack, and in order to do that you should use the rule of 8. And then once you've decided that you are going to attack, you might consider using the don't convention, disturb over no trump bid. So in fact most of you didn't use don't, but you did make a very good overcall. 2 diamonds, a good solid overcall. Then in the third seat, what should you be thinking with this hand? Well, I always think that I would like to reinstate my bid. I would think if they hadn't bid, what would I have bid? And I would have tried to transfer. So I would have transferred to hearts. How can I achieve that? I can play a double to say to my partner, with agreement, this is what we do. I would have transferred to hearts, they've stopped me, so I'll double to show that was the case. Then what would this hand do? Well, after an overcall, you should decide whether you're going to advance the overcall or leave it be. And in order to do that, you use the law of total tricks, or bidding to the level of fit. Okay, and you'll decide, I hope, that you're not going to advance that and you will pass. Now North can execute the transfer and say 2 hearts, and we've got a contract being played by North, which is the strong hand concealed in hearts. The advantage of using the double over South bidding 2 hearts is that South can now indicate the strength of their hand, and they can, just as they would after a transfer. So what they have to do with this hand is evaluate, is it 10 or is it 12? Because I always say there is no such thing as 11, and I hope they will conclude they will downrate that hand and they will pass. So there we go. So how do you evaluate whether it's a good 12 or a bad 12? Well, the thing is, even if it was bad, you still open with a 12-point hand. Even the dreaded three aces you open, and the only exception to not opening with a 12-point hand is the 4-4-4 one hand. So let's try and simplify that hand evaluation, and we're just going to decide whether our hand is good or bad. So let's have a look at how we would make a hand. We would downrate a hand, make it worth less. Well, the first thing is a 4-3-3 shape. Certainly downrates your hand dramatically. And then it can get worse because you can have isolated honours or no supporting intermediates. Intermediates are 10s and 9s. So let's have a look at this hand. We have 14 points, but all our honours are isolated, and we have no intermediates supporting them. So that 14 isn't at all worth 14, probably more like 12. Right? Whereas on the other hand, to make a hand worth more, if it doesn't have the 4-3-3 shape, it's stronger, so it's worth a bit more. If it then has supporting honours and or intermediates, it becomes much stronger. So let's have a look at this 12-point hand, the one up the top here. And we've got supporting honours, ace, queen, queen, jack, supporting honours, and then we have an intermediate supporting the king. So our 12 points is worth more than 12 points. 14 worth less, probably about 12. 12 worth more, 13, 14. Okay, it's much simpler if you do it that way rather than trying to add points, deduct points. Just say to yourself, good or bad, and then so let's have a look at that decision about whether to compete or whether to defend. And so we're going to look at whether you should overcall or not. And what we use to do that is the rule of 8. The rule of 8 is quite easy. It starts with, do you have 6 or more points? Yes, you do. You have 11. So now you add the length of your two longest suits, and you've got 6 diamonds, 3 hearts or 3 clubs, doesn't matter, makes 9. Now you deduct your losers from that, which is 7.5. So it's a bit tricky. So is it 1.5 or is it 2? Well, you bring it up to 2 because you've got supported intermediates here and here, and that's particularly strong. So it becomes 2. So if the result is 2 or more, it is 2, then you compete, so you bid. So where does the rule of 8 come from? Well, 6 of the 8 comes from the 6 or more points, and the other 2 comes from the do you have 2 or more. 6 or more points, 2 or more from the result of your losers, compete. So there we go. We're going to compete, in this case, with 2 diamonds. But you could have used don't. And don't is disturb over no trumps, and this is the simple convention. You use 2 clubs to show you've got an unspecified long suit. So in this case, rather than bidding 2 diamonds, you would say 2 clubs, your partner relays with 2 diamonds, and you either accept the 2 diamonds or you bid 3. You probably accept the 2 diamonds. If you bid 2 diamonds over 1 no trump, you're saying I've got long, at least 5 diamonds, and I've also got 5 of a major, and you're going to negotiate to see where you land. If you say 2 hearts, then you say I've got both majors, and this is where it starts to get very, very powerful. If you say 2 spades, you say I've got a weak spade overcall. If you had a strong spade overcall, you would start with 2 clubs. Your partner would relay to 2 diamonds, and then you would bid 2 spades, saying it's strong. And that's don't. So we won't bid don't. We'll just say 2 diamonds. And now, what should South do? Well, South wants to try and reinstate the fact that they would have transferred to hearts. So a way of doing that is to double, which says I wanted to bid 2 diamonds and he stopped me or she stopped me. Double. And you could have bid 2 hearts, but if you bid 2 hearts, 2 things happen. One is south, the weaker hand, is now going to play it. Not particularly weak, but weaker, is going to play it. And also, north doesn't know the strength of that two-heart overcall. If you use the double, south is going to get a chance to qualify how strong or weak that their hand is. So the double is better. South can show their strength. Well, once south realised that there was a problem here, and they had 11 points, but what they did was bid 3 hearts. Now that's doubly wrong. It's wrong because they didn't know how many hearts their partner had. They've only got 2, so it can't be 3 hearts. And also, more importantly, they didn't evaluate that 11-point hand. Remember, I think there's no such thing as 11 points. So let's have a look at what happened with the mistake. You remember that one where they ended up in two spades in the wrong side? Well, this is because with this hand, the weak hand should decide whether they go on using the law of total tricks, and this is the weak hand now to bid west. So the law of total trumps, or bidding to the level of fit, says that the total number of tricks made usually equals the sum of the trumps held by the partnership. So how many diamonds will East definitely hold? Well, they must have at least 5 because they overcalled. So West passes 5 and 2. They're not even going to make the two diamonds. Yeah. So East knows then when West passes that they must have only 2. So they should not advance. If you held 3, you would advance the overcall by 1. Okay, so East now doesn't advance unless they have more than 5 cards. Say, well, I've got 1 more. So West should definitely not overcall the spades. What happened here was we got a 2 diamond bid, and at this point they thought, oh, I can't support the diamonds, but I've got 5 spades. But look at them, they are absolutely appalling. So they bid 2 spades, and the inevitable happened. They lost very badly. So let's think about what it's gone all the way round. Let's think about what South should do in evaluating that 11-point hand. There's no such thing as 11. So am I going to rate it up to 12 or down to 10? So never have an 11-point hand. Well, first off, I've got isolated honours. I've got no supporting intermediates with them, and I'm not going to rate that as an 11-point hand. I'm going to downrate it as a 10-point. So pass. Don't bid 2 NT. Remember, you've reinstated transfers, so you could have shown the strength of your hand with 2 NT, and your partner would then decide what they're going to do. So don't, because it's a very, very poor 11-point hand. So back round. And let's look at what happened. Well, 1 didn't open it at all. They looked at their hand and said, I'm not going to open with 12 points, which is absolutely crazy. And the second one opened a spade. Now, we'll look at perhaps why. Let's look first at why somebody didn't open. With a 12 to 14 balanced hand, you open 1 no trump. No ifs, no buts. It gave the opposition, by just passing it through, it gave the opposition the easy, uncontested diamond contract. They didn't have any trouble making that. Now that a couple of people opened a spade. It isn't never deny a 4-card major. You've got one, but it's responder that doesn't deny a 4-card major. The opener should follow the basic rules of overcall, and that is opening a suit promises a rebid. Either that you have 5 of the first suit and 4 of the second, or you have 5 plus of the first suit. Now there isn't a rebid on this hand, therefore it's no trumps. It got worse because it went 1 spade, 2 hearts, and they then bid 3 clubs. And what they were then telling their partner is that they had 5 spades, 4 clubs, and 16 or more points. It doesn't look a lot like that to me. So you're misleading your partner very, very badly. 12 to 14, a balanced hand, you open 1 NT. So what happened on the next board? It's when you don't get a fit. And when you can't find a fit, you have to settle quite early. So here we hand, second board. Here's the opener's hand, 15 points, lovely strong hand. So they have to open a diamond, and they're planning on rebidding the spades. However, this hand is very weak, only 6 points, but it never denies a 4-card major and bids a heart quite correctly. Back to this side, and they shouldn't jump raise, so because there's only 15 points, so they bid a spade. Now at this point, the East doesn't have the option of bidding another suit because they've only 6 points. They only ever had one bid with 6 points, and that was it, one heart. So they say two diamonds. That's the best that we can do. So 4 of you landed in 2 diamonds correctly. 2 just bid 1 diamond, and East passed. I don't know why, with 6 points. 1 bid 2 no trumps, and 2 ended up in the hearts. And then 1 just got left in 1 spade. So 2 bid the 1 diamond. You must bid. Partner could have 19 points. So 1 diamond pass it went. Your partner could be there with 19 points, and then you'll have a potential for game. So, and also you never deny a 4-card major. You had 1 and 6 points, then your response should have been a heart. 1 bid 2 NT. You only show points on this side of the table if your hand is balanced. Your partner showed a preference. They said, I've got 1 bid. It's a heart. After that, we have to play in your suit, 2 diamonds. And that's called a preference bid. And you should accept your partner's preference. And you should play in 2 diamonds. You shouldn't go on and say, well, my hand's a bit stronger. I'll bid 2 NT. You only do that, show your points, if you're showing a balanced hand, not just showing points. And then 2 bid 2 hearts. So partner showed preference, 2 diamonds. So you then settle in the 2 diamonds. You don't overcall with 4 of a suit. And 1 bid a spade. Oh, sorry, the overcall with 4 of a suit. 1 person overcalled, forcing them to bid hearts by overcalling with a 4-card spade suit. Totally unfair overcall, and they're frowned upon severely. And then 1 opened a spade, and it is responder who never denies a 4-card major. You don't open a spade with this hand. You open a diamond and you rebid spades. Okay, thank you very much. That's everything. So other than the summary. So the lessons learned. You should evaluate a balanced hand and just do it simply. Is it better or is it worse than the point value? Best to use the rule of 8 to decide if you have an overcall of a 1 no trump opener. And don't is even better than just making a direct overcall in the suit. And then think, if it has been, if they have used something to disturb your 1 no trump, think to yourself, what would I have bid if they hadn't interfered, and have I a way of reinstating it? You must respond with minimum points. If you have 6 points, you must respond. Opener might have 19. You might have game. And if your hand hasn't got a valid rebid, you should be opening no trumps. The easiest way of checking. If you think I'm going to open a suit, just say to yourself, then what's my second bid? If you haven't got one, it's no trumps. If your partner makes a preference bid, i.e. chooses between the one of the 2 suits that you've bid as opener, don't go on. That's a preference bid. They've said, I had 1 shot at showing you my hand, and now we have to play in your suit. Use the law of total trumps. Bid to the level of fit when you are competing. And sometimes, remember, it is their contract. Don't overcompete. You're going to give them an easy ride. Thank you very much.